discussing about the highlights from the Yojana this time. So it focuses on rural development and water missions. The first is the Jal Jeevan Mission that is there. Now this is the flagship program that was introduced by the government in 2019. The idea was to provide tapped water connection to every rural household that is there. So its implementation focused on four basic criteria. Those were using or managing the greywater areas, focusing on rainwater harvesting, water conservation, and also recharge and reuse. So if we focus on the concept, the sole idea was by 2024 every household in the rural area should have piped water supply. Local infrastructure should be enhanced for the same. Rainwater harvesting or any kind of water management that is required at the grassroots level or the local level should be taken into account, and the priority is focused on mainly the areas that were SC/ST majority areas in the desert region, those falling part of the Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana, and where the water quality has been significantly affected. As we have seen over the past budgets, the allocation for the Jal Jeevan Mission has significantly increased. Also, why this has been taken into account is important because as part of the UN General Assembly, we have talked about the importance of water, and safe drinking water for domestic use to be part of the resolution that has been laid down by the UNGS, and that is basically under resolution 64/292. Also, we focus on creation of Pani Samitis. Now, these are local village level authorities that would be preparing a 5-year draft plan or an action plan in order to find out the exact water sources, how water supply could be governed, and what could be the better areas to provide an uninterrupted supply of water to certain areas. We also focus on the governance, so how water could be utilized under different areas. As of now, if we see, nearly 78% of the water goes for agriculture, only 8% for domestic use, and 6% for industrial use. That means the proportion of water being used in agriculture is significantly higher. Also, we have seen that in the coming years, the projected per capita availability of water is set to significantly reduce. As of now, we have nearly 1800 cubic meters of capacity per capita that is available for water, which is ought to reduce to merely 1140 in 2050. So we need to develop water efficient measures. Also, we need to develop more sources through which rainwater could be harvested. So Jal Jeevan Mission is one of the initiatives in that direction. Now, what are the issues that actually come up when we focus on water governance? So talking about the issues, first is providing safe drinking water to each and every household, making efficiency reliable. So that means whatever water is being received from the rainfall is properly harvested, and a very significantly low proportion goes as wastage. Tackling pollution and focusing on recycling of water as much as possible is important. Let's take a small example. If we talk about the water being released or discharged from RO after purification, the same water could be used for gardening activities, and that is one such small example to understand how recycling of water is important and acceptable. Now, if we focus on the water quality parameters, we have the list of the parameters that are there that are taken into account as being given by the government guidelines. So these parameters are important. So you could have a direct question, which of the following are the parameters for maintaining the water quality? What is the acceptable limit and what is the permissible limit? So kindly go through this table. It is also available in the handouts that are there. The next topic that we need to understand is the water sanitation and the village sanitation and water committee, which is also called as Pani Samiti. Now 10 to 15 members are part of it, of which 20% are elected by the Gram Panchayat, 20% from the weaker section of the community, and nearly 50 50% or half of that is women representation. So it talks about how the local water could be used, what could be the best way under which the local water could be planned, and the periodic means of analysis of those water. So technological interventions are again important. So with technology we can talk about more transparency, more accountability, geotagging of the water resources that are there, the developments that have taken place, and also the hydrogeological maps that have been prepared for each of the village to provide the drinking water. If we focus on rural household, we have certain statistics here for the number of the households with tap connection, which are only 16%. As of now, we have increased that significantly from 16% to 36%. Also, we have seen that few of the states like Goa, Telangana have been working very well in supplying water to the rural home. However, there have been states like Bihar, Puducherry, which have been relatively working on a similar pace and trying to achieve 100% coverage by the end of this year. So what could be the strategies for the same? The strategies is for the next 30 years, we need to have the geogenic contamination centers, single village areas water supply schemes, special focus on the regions where water supply is deficit. So the desert area, the drought prone areas, how can solar grids be linked to the water supply is again important, and providing reliable source. So this is a graph, as we could see how the increase in the tap supply has taken over the years. 0 to 10% is shown in orange color, and we can see how significantly the proportion of orange has decreased. The dark orange has decreased. That means we are slowly moving towards better state of water supply on a India-wide basis. The next is children. Now when we talk about rural development, children are an important segment. Children are the worst affected segment because of waterborne diseases. So providing proper water and sanitation hygiene system is again important. How can school management work for providing better access and better water supplies to each of those? So UNICEF has been working hand in hand, and Tashinkang is one of the major villages that have been studied. It is a rare village which is considered as the highest polling booth in the world, with a height of nearly more than 15,000 feet above sea level, and this is the region where potable water has been brought to all households through the Jal Jeevan Mission. So Tashingang village in Lahul and Smriti is a very important example. The next scheme is Atal Bhujal scheme. The Atal Bhujal scheme, as the name suggests, Bhujal. So it talks about groundwater management. It is partly funded by World Bank and has been improving the condition of groundwater in 7 states. Those are Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. And we have seen that the groundwater resources are critical. 22% of those have been overexploited or are critically exploited, we could say. We also have schemes for irrigation, which is in the name of Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, which we have focused in most of our editions over the year. Also, this scheme has 4 important segments. Those are accelerated irrigation benefit, Har Khet Ko Pani Yojana, per drop more crop and watershed. So all of these 4 are the 4 arms of the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Along with that, we focus on the Swachhata Mission, the largest world change behavior program that has been introduced in India, with a focus on creating India open defecation free, with a focus on creating cleaner India and safer sanitation for all 11 years and above by 2030. So under this we have certain landmarks that we need to achieve, and those have been focused on nicely. The next important topic that we focus on is the phase 2 of the Swachh Bharat mission. This phase 2 talks about the holistic waste management. So it includes the solid waste, the fecal sludge, the source segregation of the garbage, and reducing the use of single-use plastic. Also, in this line, we are focusing on moving towards biodegradable solid waste management, fecal waste management, and grey water management. We are also focusing on becoming a ODF plus village, so where all the schools, the Anganwadis and Gram Panchayats would have access to separate toilets and functional ones. Also, the public places would be much more cleaner, and the 5 key themes under the ODF plus is ODF sustainability. That means we first talk about ODF India, that is open defecation free India, but to keep that sustainable in longer run implies that we have proper water supply in those areas. So hand washing with soap, biodegradable waste management, the grey water management that could be done, and also the single use plastic that is there. Now the impacts of the Swachh Bharat mission are important. It aims to save the life of many people. It has leveraged the resources. It saves the money and creates more job for the common people. Now the next important is water security. Water security has been an important concern. In a country like India, which has been bestowed with numerous rivers, we still have been struggling with months of droughts. Why has had been so? The reason simply attributed is the distribution of the water is not properly made, or during the peak months when the water availability is high, that water is not being harvested properly. So bringing in the resources together, interlinking of the rivers and bringing in water conservation and management strategies could be some of those, but definitely it does involve numerous challenges. First challenge is the growing population that we see, and with that growing population we are not able to match the water resources, because we have 16% of the world population in contrast to only 4% of the water resources that are there. So how can we better replenish the green resources, and with that the surface water levels or the groundwater levels could significantly increase. So afforestation would be, we could say, one of the ways through which binding of the soil would take, better absorption and better recharge of the groundwater would take place. Also, as we said, afforestation, so green cover is important. As of now we have only 24% of the geographical area which is part of the forest cover. We say 1/3 of the area, that is nearly 33%, should be under forest cover. So this proportion needs to increase significantly. We have the states which have significant coverage for the forest, for example Madhya Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Maharashtra, but we need to have further more states to be part of it. The next is, for this environmental conservation and rejuvenation of water, we have a scheme which is the Nisarga Raksha. The idea is to train more than 1 million Nisarga Rakshaks who would be volunteering in each of the village. So one volunteer in one village, and these would be trained across the country for promoting people to understand the issues of environmental conservation, water management, and by using more data analytics, understanding how better initiatives could be laid down and better environmental conservation projects could be adopted. So for this we also have another interesting app which is the Nature Protector app, and environmentalists have been joining hands to move forward with this because it focuses on the level of organization, the outreach program, and finally the content generation that is being done through social media, and that is being propagated through the various platforms that are there. The next is, for the future, if we talk about water, definitely the climate risk environment, we could say, has been a major concern. So minimizing the use of water, teaching the youth about the importance of water, minimizing the use, and seeing that the water pollution that is rising should be curtailed immediately. We have seen numerous examples where rising water pollution has been detrimental to the nearby areas. Three Gorges Dam in China is one good example, which is one of the largest dams of the world, and this dam has created numerous issues of water pollution because the water movement is slowed down in those areas, and as a result the impurities have significantly increased. We have covered the class on 3 gorges dams separately, so if you want to go into detail, feel free to visit that. And the next is the demand for water has been ever rising. So for that, we definitely need to strengthen our infrastructure, build in more ponds, dams, lakes, and those could be helpful further. The next important is the Namami Gange project. Now Namami Gange again is based on 4 parameters: the Nirmal, the Aviral, the Jan, and the Gyan Ganga. So all of these 4 we would discuss one by one. The idea is a clean Ganga mission where we focus on rejuvenation of Ganga and a assurance that this would be at a multi-sector level, at a multi-agency level, and all the rehabilitation of the old and the new assets would take place significantly. So under the Nirmal Ganga, we focus on how the pollution could be controlled, rural sanitation, solid waste management, industrial pollution could be curtailed. The next is Aviral Ganga, where we focus on ecology and improving the flow. So wetland mapping, focusing on organic farming, basic agriculture techniques, watershed management, aquifer mapping are some of those ideas. Jan Ganga talks about people's views, so creating more close-knit societies where we focus on creating awareness about the river. So Ganga Utsav, Ganga Quest are some of the examples for the same. And Gyan Ganga talks about how policy formulation could be done by maintaining the water quality monitoring, focusing on the mapping, proper mapping, and river management that could be done through the GIS and remote sensing studies. So if we talk about the state of sewerage in the Ganga river, this has significantly increased in total the projects that have been there, and this basically says that we are on a right track. So as a dedicated member, there have been various participants who have been working at various levels to focus on how the Ganga clean mission could be achieved, and this could be either through the Nehru Yuvak Kendra Sangathan, who function as Ganga Doots. These could be as Ganga Mitra by BHU, the science clubs or the Vigyan Prasar, and so on and so forth. The next is Jan Bhagidari. Jan Bhagidari means people's cooperation for improvement and keeping the regions clean and cleaner India that could be provided. Also, we talk about the Central Water Commission report that has been very, very important. Now, this report talks about the water that is available in India in terms of the billion cubic meters per year, and what is required and what could be the future projections for the same. So we also focus on the DLI. Now DLI is disbursement of resources against the measurable indicators that are there. Now what are those indicators? These indicators focus on the groundwater, the capacity of the stakeholders that are there, the measurability, and how well we can verify those. So there have been 5 such parameters that have been there. The first talks about the public disclosure of the information related to groundwater. The second talks about the community programs for water scarcity. The third talks about the public financing. Fourth focuses on the efficient use and practices for the water management. The fifth talks about the declining proportion of groundwater. So for these there have to be certain interventions. Now what could be the interventions? The interventions are pretty simple. We focus on how the renovations could be done, how recharge of water could be done, how better we can have a real-time monitoring and tracking system that could focus on targeted regions and the development of those regions. We also talk about various ministries which have been working in line. So those ministries are the Rural Development, the Jan Shakti Ministry, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Housing. We also focus on the outcome. So definitely our outcome is to increase water, but how? Through the surface water, increasing the groundwater, more soil moisture that is there, and more plantation or green cover. So we have certain interventions in mind, and with those we have the targeted outputs which are available in this table and as handout, so you can have a look on these information later, and this could be a substantial information for your answer writing as well. Now what could be the benefits that we need to understand? First of all, we need to have a digital inventory. We need to document all the water bodies that are there, geotagging of individual resources, how social bodies can actually work for awareness campaigns, the new plants that are being planted, how better they can help with the survival in the future months, irrigation at micro level. So when we talk about the Krishi Sinchai Yojana, we also focus on micro irrigation. That is, even if we are talking about rainwater harvesting with micro irrigation projects, how those could help the individual farms and the farmers to work better. Now, if we talk about one of the case studies, we take Gujarat as a example, and Gujarat is considered as a dairy capital of India with the cooperative Amul that is there. The farmers have a entrepreneurship vision, and also they are much more industrious in terms of the input they are providing. India accounts for 18% population, human population, and 15% livestock population. So definitely we need to have huge water resources that are there. Now, if we focus on the share of water that is being received through rainfall, the south and central Gujarat receive the exceptional percentage along with Saurashtra. So if we look onto the map here, we can see how a high proportion of distribution of water is accounted to the regions of south central Gujarat and Saurashtra. However, Kutch remains one of the dry areas. Now, how could the water being provided in those regions could be increased, but we have seen that the per capita availability of water in the regions of Kutch is higher than North Gujarat, probably due to the density of population that is being cited in those regions. But there have been decision making that has been important. The use of watershed principles and participatory irrigation management has been important. So there are numerous institutions working hand in hand. So Gujarat Water Infrastructure, Gujarat Water Supply and Sewerage Board, and Water Sanitation Management Organization have been working together. Along with that, the Pani Samitis, as we have discussed, which focus on water and sanitation programs, have been important. So we focus on the Sujalam Shuflam, which is the unlined recharge canal, which is very important, and this is a canal that is constructed parallel to the Narmada in order to provide every household the water supply. Along with this, we have the concept of Sony Yojana. How Sony Yojana have been coming up, and it has been benefiting the regions of Saurashtra. We have the map here, and we can see the regions of Saurashtra and how those could be benefited by pipe canal that is being coming, which is more than 1000 km long into those regions. So if we focus on the main canal of Narmada that runs through the north and the south Gujarat, the central Gujarat, we have the branch canals that would be going through the various dams. The Sani Dam, Vinu Dam, Hiran Dam and the Rayadi dams are some of the good examples. Then we also have the functioning of the Machu Dam, which has become operational recently. If we focus on the role of women, the role of women has been very important. Water, we believe, has been brought to the households by the women from generations through the wells and the nearby rivers, and this water has been brought primarily for four purposes. First is for human drinking, the next for livestock requirement, the third is for irrigation purpose, and the fourth is for definitely maintaining the common areas and the common property resources that are there, which we also call as the CPR or the common property resources. So all of these four require water in one form or the other, and how these water could be provided. So here the role of the women have been very important. Even with the Pani Samitis, we are saying that 50% contribution comes from female members of the society. So how female members have been a crucial part of water management, and if trained properly, they can further enhance the conditions in the region. Another case study that we talk about is from Goa. Now, Goa is gifted with numerous small and big rivers. Mandovi, Zori, Saleri, Talpona are some of the examples, and the surface water and the groundwater reservoirs are important. So balancing a proper mechanism through which overhead tanks could be built, better water supply, a clean drinkable water could be supplied to each household, as we have seen 100% water being supplied to the rural area has been made possible in the region of Goa because of the Jal Jeevan Mission, or the JJM as we call as. So we have seen how the regions have become much more efficient, and filtration of water is the next step that they are working on. So for this, we also need to have certain integrated platforms. First that we focus on is talking about a GIS based catalog where each of the asset is being geo tagged or geo mapped. We also talk about a messaging system where information could be broadcasted at its earliest, a real time internet of thing monitoring sensors that could be there, and these could be well integrated with the GIS platform to provide the first line of defense and the first line of help to the farmers in case of any unforeseen circumstances that are there. So technological innovations indeed in one form or the other are very beneficial for better development of the rural areas and better assurance in the rural areas. As we have seen that most of the households need to have improved sources of water supply, and as a part of the Jal Jeevan Mission we have been focusing on exploring more ways through the real-time information sensors that are there, and we are also talking about the most important way of movement, and that is the inland waterways. Now India is one of the countries which has numerous rivers, but still the contribution of transport through the inland waterways is less than 1%. The basic reason being the connections are not proper, and we have identified five national waterways. National Waterway 1 to 3 were identified prior, and we have two new 4 and 5 which are in development. As a part of the Sagarmala Pariyojana, we are focusing not only on the coastal areas but also on the inland water management systems that are there. So how water is one of the least expensive means of communication, and better networking could lead to better transportation systems that could be established. And the last is, this year is the 75th year of India's independence. So what we need to do in light of that, so there is Azadi Ka Mahotsav, and this talks about the ideas, the achievements, the actions and the resolutions at 75 that India would be into, and what would it be looking for. So that was a quick glimpse of what we have covered in the Yojana. Definitely water and related issues are very important for your upcoming examinations. Pani Samiti, who are the members of Pani Samiti, focusing on the Jal Jeevan Mission, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, and how geotagging and geomapping of the assets have been very important and crucial part of the water development projects. So that was about the Yojana this time. We will be meeting next month again with the summary on Yojana. Till then, stay well, stay safe, have a wonderful day ahead.